thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cindy O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cindy O'Meara.
And welcome to today's podcast. And it's a spectacular day. I think it's about 33 degrees. It's a little toasty. In fact, my bum's sticking to the seat. I don't know about you girls.
I'm sticking to. It's hot. It's definitely hot.
Yeah, it's warm. It's toasty. So what we decided we were going to talk to you guys about today isn't sweaty bums or anything, but what we thought we'd talk to you guys about today. Look, I thought we'd get started on an even.
Oh, why not?
Look, it's going to go there anyway. Kim's going to bring in poo. She's going to talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
You're such a love.
I thought I might as well bring in the bum in early.
Oh, sweaty one at that.
But today's topic's actually quite inspiring. We all downloaded this amazing book after a conversation with Cindy where she said, you've got to get it, you've got to get it, you just download it on your Kindle, you've got to get it, you've got to read it. And of course Cindy downloaded it and read the first chapter and got totally caught in a rabbit hole, and, you know, she's still in the rabbit hole. I think, Kim, you've downloaded it, have you?
Yep, done the whole thing.
You've read the whole thing?
All of it.
I downloaded it, devoured the whole thing, I think within an hour and a half. I've practiced everything.
She's
I've bought all the
rewritten it.
bits.
I'm ready to give it in a seminar.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, I have my Mindset Mastery program running this week in Brisbane, and I've actually taken a big part of this book and implemented it into Mindset Mastery. So, do you guys want to know what we're talking about? Okay, I'll give in. I'll let you know.
No, don't tell.
Don't tell.
Don't tell. No.
Secret squirrel.
Secret squirrel.
All right, we'll leave it. Okay, you guess. Okay, ready? Guess. No, nothing. Okay, cool. I'll tell you. It's an amazing book that you can download. You can also buy it. It's in a hard copy, but if you download it, it's only $2 on your Kindle or your e-reader, and it's called E Squared. Now, everybody's talking about it. It's in the newspapers, it's in magazines, it's on the telly. Everybody is talking about E Squared. And the part that I love the most about E Squared was I'm a huge fan and student of the Course in Miracles. And I'm sure that there are other people out there who studied the Course in Miracles, and it's a really tough read. I started reading A Course in Miracles about 15 years ago and started doing all the lessons. And the inside of the Course in Miracles, there's also a teacher's manual. So, of course, me being the person that I am, you know, I went about learning it and doing the lessons, and then I went about putting together some information around it, which I've kind of implemented in all of my programs and in my counselling and stuff. But the Course in Miracles is really an amazing book that, I guess, gives a very different slant to the reality that we live in on a day-to-day basis. And the woman who's written, what's her name again?
Pam Grout.
Pam Grout.
Yeah.
Pam Grout has written E Squared, and she's also a student of A Course in Miracles. But the beautiful part that I love about it is A Course in Miracles is tough. It's heavy going. Whereas she's taken the lessons inside of A Course in Miracles and put them into layman's terms. In fact, everyday language, which makes it so easy to read, so easy to understand and digest, and it makes bloody sense. So we all have just fallen desperately in love with E Squared. It's a brilliant, brilliant book with lessons in it, and it's just fantastic. So if you've ever looked at A Course in Miracles and thought, yeah, no, that's harder than reading the Bible, get your little paws onto E Squared, because it's the most... It's a transformational book, don't you think?
Yeah.
I loved your story, Cindy.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, when a book's on your radar all the time, you see it on Facebook or someone talks about it, and I always feel if someone is talking about a book that I should get it, especially if I've heard it 3 or 4 times.
Absolutely.
But because it was a little bit on manifesting, and I thought, well, I've just been to Greece manifesting, and I've got, you know, Manifesting Matisse, and I've learned a lot about it, and I've been doing a lot I didn't think I needed to buy the book.
Plus, you were doing really well with manifesting,
Yeah.
so it was probably that sense of not needing to do anything more, really.
And it probably was. But then another person tells me about it, and then they tell me it's only a couple of bucks on Kindle. And I went, a couple of bucks? I'm not going to waste that.
Can't complain about that.
Let's throw that on there. And so I was on my way down to Sydney in a plane, and I thought, I'm going to start reading that E Squared, see what it's all about. And I got to step 1, because there's 9 steps, and they're tests for the universe, basically. You're testing the universe that it is listening to you and you are asking for things. So step 1, or test 1, is where you write down the date and time right now. And then 2 days later, you write the date in 2 days and the time in 2 days. So my date was the 9th of the 9th, 13. And in 2 days' time, it would have been the 11th of the 9th, 13, and it was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so you'd ask for a gift from the universe. And so I asked for a gift from the universe. You don't have to be specific, you just ask for this gift. So I get off the plane, and I'd forgotten that I'd even done this. I actually did, I just kind of went, oh, yeah, I've done that. I've asked for my gift. Let's move on with life, as you do. So I get to the airport. My husband's with me. We go to get the car, and we've already, booked the car. The car's $138, and the guy says that'll be $178.
Oh, wow.
And I went, but it's $138. And he said, but you've got a spare driver, and you've got this extra, and you've got this extra. And I went, I'll tell you what, get rid of all the extras. Just just let me have what we've already paid for, And he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just give it all to you for free. So I went, bing. Gift number 1, thank you very much. Or I thought my gift, $40. So I thought that was pretty good. So then my next one that happened is that we got the hire car and we went to our hotel. And in Sydney, you got to pay for your car as well as your body. Basically you go and sleep in a hotel, but you got to let your car sleep as well, apparently, and you got to pay for the bloody car.
Oh, right, for the parking.
For the parking.
Oh, yes, of course.
So here I have got a hire car.
Yeah.
$138.
And your parking would be like another $138 bucks in Sydney.
So then I just looked at my husband and I went, I knew we should have taken taxis. We should have just taken taxis. And the guy heard me say that. I wasn't ridiculing him. I just said, we should have just taken taxis. He goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 2 nights free parking. And we only needed 2 nights. So I said, thank you very much. So that was number 2. Then we went out for dinner, and we were invited out to dinner by this guy who has a life insurance company, and a lot of his family's been following me, and they're getting really good results with their health. And he figures if I can do the same thing for his life insurance patients, he won't have to pay his life insurance patients out because they're going to live longer.
Yeah, right. Smart thinking, that.
Very smart thinking.
I think it's very smart.
Up there for thinking, down there for dancing, in between for romancing. Hey? Clever man.
Please note, listeners, I did not say that. This was Kaz. I have not opened my mouth yet. I have not gone there, and twice already. We are 7 minutes in, and she's there. Yeah, just saying.
So anyway, he invites us to a lovely restaurant in Sydney, and you know what Sydney's like. It's expensive. $50 for a main meal, $25 for dessert, $25 for a brandy. It gets pretty expensive.
True that.
Entrees were, I think, $25. So we have this beautiful dinner, and because it's my husband and I and him, my husband says, well, I'll pay for it. And he says, no, my treat. So, there's another couple of $100 there. So I'm thinking, I've done pretty good for 24 hours, because we're just after 24 hours. So I think, I've done really well. So from Sydney, we go to Perth. So we hop in the plane to go to Perth, and I've got 5 hours, no internet, ready to plug my computer in and just go for it. And I'm going crazy on my computer. And then the guy in front of me decides he wants to sleep. So he puts his chair back. And, of course, who's tried to try to work while someone in front of you is trying to sleep? I'm like, I got my hands up above my breasts just about trying to type.
Looking like a squirrel hoarding nuts.
I look like a bloody squirrel.
Squirrel hoarding nuts. That's hilarious. That's exactly what she looked like. Guys, you should have seen that. Cindy just actually did the action. As if she was being filmed. She just did it. It was very funny.
Yeah, and I was up trying to type and on that thing, really frustrated.
You look like Scrap off the Ice Age. And that little thing that hides the acorn. That's so cute.
Oh, well.
Anyway. We digress.
We did. So I said to my husband, I go, I'm getting out of this seat and I'm going to go find a seat where I can sit and I can work for the next 4 hours, So I hop out and I see a gentleman by himself, and he's bigger than just a normal seat. So I just think that would be a good seat for me, but it's not really fair to him. So I end up in the exit, on the chair, not on the chair, but on the platform that's on the exit door. And of course the steward comes up to me and said, "I'm sorry, but you can't stay there." And I said, "Look, I really want to work. Can you find me a seat?" So he finds the seat that I had seen and asked this gentleman if it's okay if I sit there while I work. And he obviously said yes. So 4 hours, I'm typing away like a mad woman, and this other gentleman is watching a movie. And just as I finish typing and close my computer and he closes down his movie, he then turns to me and he says, "Oh, I wish I could type like you." And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" And he said, "Well, I'm writing a book about myself, about my life, and I just not as quick as you." And I said, "Really? What? Tell me about your life." And he, instead of telling me about it, he gave me his iPad, and I read it. So I was reading away, and about 15 minutes later, I'd finished reading what he'd already written. And before I started this whole thing, I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm an author. Maybe I can give you some tips." So I gave it back to him. He said, "Okay, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I find it really interesting, but you're an Aboriginal and this is a Western life, and I want to know about your culture more than I want to know about anything else. Like, it's nice to know this is what it was like." He then explained to me that he didn't even know he was an Aboriginal until he was about 9 or 10, when someone called him a coon face.
Oh.
And he went home to his mum and he said, "Mum, somebody called me a coon face," and his brother went right off his tree. "Who called you a coon face? Who did that to you?" And all of a sudden he realised that it was a derogatory term.
Yeah.
And that was when he actually realised that he was actually a different colour. And you know how we've been...
Oh, bless him.
Well, in E Squared how it talks about when you concentrate on one thing, you actually don't see what else is happening
Absolutely.
around you. And he just saw himself as a boy with the other boys. He never saw that there was a different colour.
Oh, shame.
So what was really interesting is that you might be thinking, well, what's this got to do with your gift? Well, I want to just digress a little bit. About the early 1990s, I read a book called Mutant Messages Down Under. And Mutant Messages is about an American woman when she was 50 coming to Australia and going on walkabout as a result of numerous circumstances. She goes on walkabout for 4 months with the Aboriginals. And now this is back in the 80s she does this. And she learns about their culture, so she learns about their spirituality, the way they telepathically speak, their healing, which is quite amazing. He talks about like what they eat, how they actually manifest their food, because they lived in the desert. So she learns all of these things, and then she's told by the real people that this is... there's a reason why she's with them, that is she's to tell the rest of the world that they are leaving the planet. They won't be staying on the planet because they can't survive, because they're used to how they do their food and everything. They just can't survive anymore. So they ask her to write a book about them. She writes this book. She's on Oprah. She's everywhere. It's a self-published book. 350,000 are sold. As she self-publishes, and then I think Random picks her up. But she basically, a lot of people don't believe that she actually did this, and a lot of Aboriginals in Australia do not want her in Australia because they have that's Kimmy's cat.
It's my little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in case you guys did hear that.
Yeah.
Is that Cleo?
Yes.
It's Cleo.
She's my little old girl and she's not well, so just excuse me one tick.
So what happens is that now we're all watching the
You
cat.
were watching Kim walk out snuggling. Oh.
The cat. So the Aboriginals say that there's a white woman that knows way too much about their culture. So I've always wanted to meet an Aboriginal that can tell me that these real people exist.
Oh, amazing.
So here I am sitting next to what looked like a fairly full-blood Aboriginal, and I said to him, I want to know, do you know anything about Mutant Messages Down Under? I asked him. And he says, no, I've never heard about it. I said, you've never read the book? And he said, no. I said, well, it talks about the real people. He says, the real people exist. He says, they walk through town, but you won't know that they're there. He says that they live in the desert, and they are amazing healers, and he talks about their whole culture. And then he tells me a story about himself where he is he's been in an accident and he's broken his neck. He has glass in his eyes and he's unconscious, and he's basically dead because he's risen above his body and he's watching everything from above. He watches the ambulance get him, he gets to the hospital, his mother's there with the medicine man, the Aboriginal medicine man, and a doctor, a conventional doctor. His mother says to the doctor, could you please leave the room for 5 minutes? I want the medicine man to first deal with my son. And the doctor's quite anxious because he's broken his neck, he's unconscious, they're really worried about him, but he leaves the room. The medicine man grabs his hand, so this is the young man that's sitting beside me, grabs his hand. He says he feels this electric bolt through his body and he bounces back to his body. So no longer is he hovering above his body, he's back in his body. Then the medicine man basically puts his hands around, maybe 2 inches above the body and starts to remind the body what its correct manner is for healing and for health. And he completely goes over the body, goes over the eyes, grabs his hands into a ball over the eyes, and then the doctor walks back in again. And as the doctor walks back in, the medicine man says, could you hold your hand out? And the doctor holds his hand out and the medicine man drops all the glass into his hand. And basically, Nathane is the name of the gentleman that I've met, wakes up. And he doesn't need an operation, doesn't need anything. What Nathane described to me was what I read in Mutant Messages Down Under. And that was my gift. My gift was, I finally, after nearly 20 years of reading this book, I was given, yes, Cindy, these people do exist, and this type of healing does exist. And the way they look for food does exist. The whole spirituality, their telepathy, and he even told me they astral travel. They do everything the New Age does. These guys have been doing for 60,000 years.
Yeah.
And from there, I stopped reading E Squared and I started reading Mutant Messages Down Under again. And what I realised Mutant Messages Down Under was all about manifesting. Every morning, the Aboriginals in the Real People get together and they pray in a circle and they ask the universe for its higher good, that whatever animals and plants pass by them, then it's their time to give their life for their life. It's just, and so they don't know where their next water's coming from or their next food's coming from, but they manifest every single day out in the desert what they want. And I just went from E Squared to Manifesting Matisse, and then that took me to another book because all of a sudden I was interested in, because the Real People say we don't die. So then I went on to another book.
What book?
I went to Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss, which we'll have a conversation about in another podcast. But it was the biggest gift I could have ever got. I got off that plane. Nathane was just one of the most beautiful men. And I got off that plane, and he was so in love with his wife and so in love with his 7 children, and showed me photos of them and said, you must come to Broome and you must meet my family.
Wow.
And we'll talk more about, Aboriginal cultures and Real People. So I said to him...
Yeah, when do we go?
I know, I'd love to go and meet him and, spend time with him. But he said to me, I said, that's what I want you to write about. Why don't you write about your healing? And he said, well, I'll be like, Marlo Morgan, who wrote the book Mutant Messages Down Under, and I will be in trouble. They'll point the bone at me because this is a culture that's a secret culture. But the way I see it is that I think these cultures need to tell us. We've lost our way, I think, in the Western world. These guys are doing what the New Age movement is kind of doing. What people are searching for is life's got to be easier. And these were the Real People. They had nothing. They never carried anything. They were nomads. They never carried food because they trusted the universe and the planet to give them the food that they needed. But they know they can't do it anymore. So, look, it's a great book to read. It's 20 years old. You can get it on...
What do you mean they know they can't do it anymore?
Well, they can't do it anymore because they're losing their land. There's a lot of mines out there now.
You're saying. Okay. Yeah, right.
There's a lot of mining out there now, and there's a lot of... it's just the land's being destroyed. Their land that they did this on. So, yeah. So they feel that they can't survive as a race, so they've chosen to leave the planet. So when she wrote this, the youngest was 13. So that was when she did it was probably 30 years ago. So he's probably in his 40s. But they chose to be celibate because of this very reason, because they knew they couldn't survive. They couldn't exist on this planet, but the way it was going.
Wow.
But they've been doing it for 60,000 years. You know, they had lived in Australia for that amount of time. But they know, I look at it and I go, God, they weren't about materialism.
No.
Everything was about their amazing life. And the fact that I'd read this book, and I read this book every couple of years, and every time I read it, I get something more out of it. And so meeting Nathane and him talking more about it, this time I read it, I even read different things. You know, their relationship with food. Their relationship with food is a relationship with food. We don't have a relationship with food. You know, we go to the grocery store, we buy packaged food, we don't even know where it's coming from. And their belief is if you do not have a relationship with your food, then you don't have health. Until you get that relationship, then you will find health. So people buying packaged foods and foods that don't even know where they're coming from, or not, they're not even growing their own food. Or catching their own food. You know, there's a guy in America, and his name is Daniel Fatalis, and he has a thing called wilding, and it's all about let's get back out in the wild and find out what greens that we can eat that are out there in the wild. And so that's what E Squared did for me. And Kim has a wonderful story too about E Squared.
But
yeah,
I think the kick I got out of you ringing me, because Cindy rang me straight after she got, basically it was off the plane, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I had to give Howard a little bit of time, because here I was on the plane with this guy. But Nathane was amazing, because he said, "Oh, you're here with your husband," because he didn't know. I said, "Yeah, he's just 2 seats behind." Well, as soon as the plane stopped, Nathane got up and leaned over to my husband and said, "Hi, I'm Nathane." He said, "It's respect, just respect,
I think that's what I got after your phone call. It really pushed a few buttons for me, because living here in Australia, it really astounds me how the culture is not embraced the way it is. Bless you, Papa.
Oh, excuse me.
In New Zealand, our schools, we're taught to greet in Māori, we're taught to understand words, our national anthem is sung in Māori. Like, it's very different for us over there. And so when I brought the children over here and we went to school, there was nothing cultural. So when you rang me, there was a part of me that felt really excited, of course, for you, but another part of me that felt really sad, not only for myself here missing out on a lot of the cultural feelings, but the fact that Australia does not embrace its culture in the way that I believe it should be. And I know that the Aboriginals are a very old culture, and I know that they're an incredibly nomadic and very almost on their own. Like they're not big at integrating into the city life, perhaps as much as the Maoris have. Someone said something interesting to me too, that when you look at the Aboriginals compared to the Maoris were warriors. They fought for the land in New Zealand. They fought, they were strong, and you only have to look at a Maori or be around the elders to really, and see the mokus and the tattoos and see the history. And I'm about to take a group of people to New Zealand on a retreat where we're going to experience a cultural thing. And I just feel really proud of that. And so when you were talking to me about Nathaniel and all of his story, I got really excited for the first time about wanting to know about the Aboriginal culture. And I think it would be a great idea. I think we should do something cultural here in New Zealand and maybe invite...
Australia?
Sorry. That was a little Freudian. Yeah. That was a Freudian slip. But I think it'd be wonderful, don't you think, all our beautiful international listeners to... If ever we run something down here, to actually include something around this beautiful country. And all the things you were talking about in Mutant Messengers are very much around what we three believe and talk about. Do you wonder, both of you, before I talk about my story, do you think the reason why they don't want to share it, they don't think we're ready for it? Or do you think that they think that we'd abuse it? Or is that what...
You know what, I don't know, but... I remember what I learned in Australian history, that they were a dumb race. This is what I was taught in the 1960s, that they were a very backward race. And it wasn't until I read Mutant Messages Down Under that I got a new perspective on who they were and what they did. And because of, learning about the Aboriginals, they talk that the plants speak to them. There's a scientist, I think his name's Wade, and you can look at him on TED.com, and he's an anthropologist, I think. Yeah, he's an anthropologist, a cultural anthropologist, and he says that there's a group in South America who says that plants speak to them. And he knows that there's no way that this culture could have figured out mixing 16 plants together that would allow them to be able to have, they're hallucinogens, by the way, one of them's an hallucinogen, but because the hallucinogen is so dangerous, then they have to add other things to it to make it calm and something that they can see more inspiration in their life. This is what they use it for.
Modern day weed.
Modern day weed, it was. Well, it probably is, but he was basically saying that culture says the plants speak to us and tell us which ones we need to mix together. Now, can you imagine the British coming to Australia in 1770 and being even the least bit excited about Aboriginal culture? They would think that they're all wacky. And they're all wacky-backy. That's what they would have been thinking. But it's only now that this whole new age is starting that we realise that what their culture was probably very significant for us now in the future. And will they share it with us? Will they trust us? Like the healing. I just remember having this argument with this medical doctor who just says there's only one way, and that's medical way. The medical way, that's it. But to hear what happened to Nathane, and to read what happens in Mutant Messages Down Under it was a broken leg that happens on Mutant Messages Down Under, and to see that healing, you just kind of go,
we're missing the point.
We're missing the point. And all they do is remind the body as to what it should be like, and that healings can be instantaneous. But we have this belief that it takes 6 weeks for a broken leg to heal. Well, this woman talks about 24 hours, and she watches the whole procedure, the reminding that the body should be in this position, the medicine woman and the medicine man on either side of the leg, and not even touching the leg, but watching the leg being drawn out. So I actually would love to learn and love to see this, but I think it's a belief as well. It's like the pointing of the bone. They believe that once the bone's pointed at them, that they will die.
And they subsequently do.
And they do. So, I got a newfound inspiration, I guess, with food. I started to really think more about our relationship with food. That's what it did for me. And I don't know, I just feel so good about what I do now, but I know I can do more, and I know I can do better, and that's what my gift was. And I think it was one of the most profound gifts. Like it gives me tears.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I wrote about it in my newsletter. It'll be out in my October newsletter, because I just felt that if I got that, then
what else is possible?
What else is possible? And then I can share that. And I'm hoping, like I've tried to get Nathane to. I went on his Facebook and just say thank you so much, because I told him he was my gift. I actually told him what I'd done, and I said, you're my gift. And you know what he said to me? He said, well, I told my wife a couple of days ago that I needed to meet an author to direct me in the right direction for my book.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
So he asked for something, I asked for something, and we both received it. But I kind of go, well, is it coincidence? But why 20 years later? Yeah, why 20 years later? I finally meet my Aboriginal. I travelled around Australia for 2 years. In all the places where the Aboriginals were, never met one that I could really sit down and have a heart-to-heart with and feel so close to another human being. Yeah, it was lovely, absolutely lovely.
I love this line in the book, in the opening couple of chapters, where it says...
This is E squared?
E squared, sorry, yeah. If you weren't immersed in this non-stop riot of fragmented, old-school thinking, you'd be modifying your life at will. You'd have no fear around money. You'd have nothing but beautiful relationships, and you'd be so ecstatically content that it would never occur to you to pick up a book like this. Quite amazing, isn't it?
Right.
So I was really interested when Cindy said that, and I'd been hearing about E squared as well, and I kind of thought, and I don't know if any of you are like this, but I really do believe in there's something greater at play always. But then there's a little bit of self-doubt that creeps in sometimes. It goes, yeah, sure, prove it, And so when the book says, go on, ask the field of infinite possibility to actually see if it can do it. So the first exercise is that. Go on, show me a sign. And I wrote this down in my diary because I just did it straight onto my phone. And I said, I'm giving you exactly 48 hours for you, infinite field of possibility, to show your presence. I am looking for a clear sign, something that cannot be written off as consequence. So I started mine at 11:22 on the 23rd of September. And it finished at 1:22 Fijian time, because then we went to Fiji for our retreat. Anyway, I started off, and I just finished at 11:22. At 11:30, I was driving my daughter to dancing, and as I was driving along, I looked at my car, and I just all of a sudden, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but I had this whole newfound connection with my car. It was like, this car is actually beautiful. This car, look at us, it's driving us. Like, I got really kind of weirdly present to the fact that these machines can drive us at amazing speeds with incredible comfort, and took me and my daughter to her dancing. Then I had to run around all over the place, and just to backtrack a little bit for me, 10 years ago I really wanted to create a video.
By the way, just before you say this, Kim talks about this video incessantly. You do.
I do.
You do talk about. So 10 years ago, you might have thought about it, but you've been really talking about this video for 10 years. But I'll let you go on. I just want them all to know how long she's been talking about it.
Right. One of those little thorns in the side.
No, not at all.
No. And, anyway, this video, I won't describe it just now, but it is about beauty and about our connection to our own beauty, and actually not buying into all the ridiculous hype and BS that's out there surrounding what this physical beauty supposedly is. And I've got it in my head how it looks, and I've been trying to work it. And when I approached someone to do this video a number of years ago, I was told it was going to cost me $40,000, plus he was actually interested in royalties on it. So I just kind of thought, well, that's not feeling right. That's not what the essence of this is about. And I parked it. And it's been on and off for a number of years, as you know. Anyway, that morning, I get a phone call from a young woman who I had been introduced to through one of my beautiful girls at work. And Kaz said to me, Kim, you'll love Courtney. She's amazing. She's young. She's 22. And she's just got this whole beautiful approach to technology and all that. Maybe she could help us with our social media. And I'd met with her the week before, and I'd said to her about this video, and she said, well, I might have an idea around it. Parked that 2 weeks before then. So here I am driving along, and Courtney rings me, and she says, Kim, I was just thinking, a couple of my girlfriends, we've been really thinking about you and your video. Could we meet? And I was flying out to Fiji the next day. I was taking my daughter to dancing. I had to go into the office, a multitude of things to get ready before I went. And I said, honey, I would love to, but the only opportunity I have is at 4 o'clock this afternoon, in Kaluan, just here on the Sunshine Coast. But that probably won't work for you, would it? And she went, leave it with me. Well, I get a text 10 minutes later saying all 4 of us will be there at 4 o'clock. And I thought, 4 of you? Who are these people? Anyway, so 4 o'clock they arrived. There's nowhere to sit. There's nowhere to have a meeting. So I go out to my beautiful car that I've been admiring, and I open the boot, and I offered them all a seat in my boot. And the darlings sat there for 15 minutes while I gave them an overview, a brief of what my video and what my idea is. And as I was speaking, their little eyes were just lighting up. And then I said to them, I don't know, what do you think? I want to do photos, I want to do quotes. I would just love it if someone had a beautiful voice, or if you knew someone in music that could put a song to it in the background, because I've written a poem about it and I'd love that, sung. And they all sat there, and their little faces were just grinning. They're all in their early 20s. One of them, Ellie May, is a photographer, and an incredible, beautiful, she's got an amazing following on Instagram. She's just stunning. She looks like she's not a model, but she is a model, if you know what I mean. She's an incredible model. And she just puts posts on Instagram that are beautiful things she loves. Now she's got people from New York and London sending her stuff. Oh, and now she's got about 17 or 18,000 followers on Instagram within the last year. That's how much she's grown. And because of the way she frames things, she's just got that little X factor. Yeah. And then her friend Teresa next to her happens to be a videographer. And she sat there and told me all about her approach to videoing and what she loves, which was totally up my alley. So it's not about your classic everyday looking at a shot and filming it. It's quite abstract and quite thoughtful. And she showed me one of her videos she's done, and I got a tear in my eye because I went, this is the feeling. You can't put this into words. Mm-hmm. And then I said, oh gosh, now all we need is a musician. And then all three of them looked at the other girl who I hadn't met, and she was sitting there, and she happened to be Teresa's sister, who sings and writes music. And I just sat there and went, are you all serious? And then I just got the biggest grin, and they're all going, what's so funny? I went, you're all my gift. Yeah. You're my gift. Like, I thought the gift was having a daughter that can dance and a son that's quite spunky and gorgeous and a husband that loves me and my car and the fact that my cat's still alive and all these little things that I was thinking were amazing gifts. All of a sudden had something way beyond my and that to me, it says, is that a consequence? Absolutely not. It just confirmed for me that when you put your mind and your intention and your thinking on something, how incredibly present, or maybe it's always there. This was the question, the conversation we started having was, well, maybe it's there all the time, but you don't appreciate and acknowledge it, or you don't actually fully comprehend the power of what you've thought and created. Because what I'm starting to notice, the more I think it's hard, it's a struggle, it's not fair, guess what? It's hard, it's a struggle, it's not fair. And then when I go into, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, same things are still happening in my life, but it doesn't feel hard, a struggle, or unfair. So I think that's, and I couldn't put the book down, so I kept going. And then in chapter 5, you actually have to give a specific request to the universe. And even that was fulfilled for me in a weird way, very weird way, around my new book that I'm writing. And I put out there that I wanted to create some opportunity about to get clear on the book. And I'm not kidding, that morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, I got an email from a lady who runs an online magazine here called Dear. And she put an email to me.
And that's D-A-R-E, not dear.
Yeah, not D-E-A-R.
As it sounds like with her Kiwi accent, dear.
Just needed to correct
You
that.
just need to clarify, because that's how you say dear. It's a Kiwi accent.
You two are such tarts. Is that the same way that you say it here in Australia? Tart. Same.
Same, but same.
Yeah.
But different. Same, but different. Ta-ta. Go on, sorry.
I got this email at 7 o'clock in the morning inviting me to write my book within the next 30 days with support. And all of a sudden I went, well, I mean, how many of us get emails like that in the morning in your inbox?
I know.
So
I know.
It's an amazing book. And because I've heard Karen talk so much about A Course in Miracles, and she refers to that a lot in there, obviously, it made me want to go and get that book. And did exactly for you. I want to read a whole lot of different books now, and just takes you off.
It does. It takes you off in another area. One of the things it asks you, I think it's number 2, it asks you to ask for butterflies or something like that. So I decided to ask for butterflies, and you know what butterflies are to all of us. You know, butterflies are my sister and my mother, and butterflies for you, Karen, are a part of your whole thing. And butterflies, yeah, exactly. So we all have this thing with butterflies. So it asks you to look for a butterfly. And I never saw a butterfly. Opened up my email. Somebody sent me an email and had a butterfly on the corner.
And what did we give you for your birthday, love?
A bracelet
With?
A butterfly?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, shoot. You did too. I never even thought of
You didn't put that
butterfly.
together?
No.
Oh, well, look at that.
Oh, my gosh. Isn't that funny?
And we did it very deliberately, and you just did.
I knew it was a butterfly, but I didn't think that's
that
what
was
I'd
part
requested.
of your butterflies.
Not only did you see one, but you've actually got one on your
I got
wrist
one
all
on
the
me.
time.
Well, I only took it off last night. They're looking at my wrist right now. It's not there.
You must go to sleep with that. You must shower with that.
I do everything. Oh my gosh, I'd forgotten that. Oh, that is just too hard. That's too funny. Anyway,
Amazing.
Look, it is. I think it is absolutely amazing, that book.
Easily written, and she writes it quite humorously, which I like.
Oh, I love it. She says, unless you've just crawled out from underneath a cabbage leaf, her language is really,
It's really good, isn't it?
cool. It's really cool. She's she's got a really good take on God as well, because for a lot of people they find the whole terminology of God quite offensive based on their upbringing or whatever their view or perspective on God is. So she's really quite casual about that. She says, look, I don't really care what you think or what you call him or it. Irrelevant. You know, and I love it because, and this is the thing that I think is just so beautiful, which I'm really starting to get. And I think that, Cindy, your point is so profound in that the ancient traditions, the Aboriginals, they've been doing this all along. And our New Age movement is now taking us down exactly the same path that's been there all along. And the reality is that we've always been creating. We've always been creating. We've just been creating what we don't want. And then looking at a world that doesn't serve us and then saying that the world is such a bad place or life is so difficult, life is always so challenging. Because what we continue to create is more of what we don't want, because that's all that we're focused on. And unfortunately, from the time that we're born, we're taught to survive, what not to do in order to survive. We work out subconsciously what not to do in order to survive. So we're always focused on what not to do. Rather than focusing on what to do, we're focusing on what not to do. And our brains are conditioned that way. And it's a societal norm that permeates through every single human being until we get to a certain point where we go, well, this isn't working out for me anymore. And then we start to look at other ways of creating a life that works. And I think E Squared and The Secret and, you know, Esther Hicks, What the Bleep, all of that is like a very slow educational process for us. But we are slow. And I don't blame the Aboriginals for wanting to keep it hidden. You know, I'm South African. For those of you guys who didn't know that, I was born in South Africa.
Achman.
Shame. And there's another one that says sister.
I haven't heard that one from you.
Sister. Sister means shame for you. But there's this whole movement that's heading towards where we've already been. And my mum has a beautiful phrase where she says, if you look at it, we're just going back to create a new future. So that whole back to the future, you know, concept is so real. There's and the way that the brain and the body and the way that we function is already set up to be creative. We are already set up to be creative in terms of the way that we think, the way that we influence each other, the way that we influence our own energy, the way we influence our own healing, the way that we influence the lives of others, the way that we can influence a plant, the way that we can influence the air, the way that we can influence our environment. We're already set up to be incredibly creative. But instead of being creative, we're so distracted. We're so distracted by focusing on what we don't want. And we're lost in what we don't want. We're lost in not having a bad relationship. I don't want this relationship to be like the last one. I don't want my kids to grow up like I did. I don't want... I don't ever want to be hurt, so I'm never going to do this, that, or the other. I don't want to be fat, so I'm not going to eat that kind of food. But whatever we think we don't want, we create it. The very thing we don't want, we're creating it because that's what we're focusing on. And I love how simply E Squared puts the process of shifting the mindset to being creative in the way that we've already been designed to be creative. So it doesn't actually require effort. It doesn't require that we do anything differently. It doesn't require that we you know, go and sit on the top of the Himalayas and meditate for 6 months. It doesn't require that we do any of that. It just requires that we align ourselves with what's already innately there. I went to it's kind of like an oxymoron, but I went to a raw cooking class.
It is an oxymoron.
If there's such a thing. A raw cooking class. I know. And it was
raw preparation class.
Raw preparation
class. Yeah.
And it was really...
Did you get invited to that?
No, I noticed her and that went.
No, I noticed that too.
I did.
Yeah, saw it on Facebook.
Yes, I did notice that.
Well, do you know, I'll be really honest, it never even occurred to me because you people...
Love to cook.
And, you know, eat meat and stuff. And so it never even occurred to me.
I don't.
So I just took other raw people.
I'm so glad you're getting it and not me this time. I always get it because I haven't bought it for you or I haven't... Oh, keep going, keep doing it to her, Kimmy. Keep doing it.
How was your raw cooking class?
Love, I have to say to you, 'twas fabulous. 'Twas.
And did one bring any food today during the podcast for us to sample?
No, actually, no. No.
That would be right.
See, I can go to the classes, but doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to make it.
Well, that's going to be the same for me from now on. I can shop, but I won't necessarily buy for you.
See her face. Oh my God.
Hey, tell, carry on. Are we listening?
Tart.
Now, I'll just shut her up here. Please continue, Karen, now that you've had yours.
Anywho, less about you, more about me.
And let me say...
Now that you've said that, let me say this. And having said that, we'll go on to that.
With this.
How about it? Anyway, so when I went to this raw prep class,
Right.
it was set up in it was in Doonan, and for goodness' sake, it was. Stop it, Kim. She's doing the whatever Trevor face at me. It was set up in the most spectacular place, perched on the top of a mountain, and so the view was breathtaking. We got there at 10 o'clock, and when I got there, the man who was running it was walking his little white fluffy dog out on the road. I was sold.
She was in.
That's it.
I was sold. I was there. And then he went on, and he's quite a unique fellow.
I like how she says unique.
Different, unusual.
I like it. It's different, it's unusual. It's nice. I like it. And he was talking about lots of different things about raw food, but he started to talk about, which really struck such a significant chord for me, because I feel like, just so that everybody knows, I feel like I'm going through a bit of a transition in my life right now. And I don't quite know what's coming out the other end of it, but I can really feel there's a transition coming. And when he started talking about it, he was talking about the human's harmony with Mother Earth and how plants talk to us. And if we lost all of our ability to cook and to grocery shop and power went down, could we forage? Could we feed ourselves? Could we survive? And he said the answer is no for most of humanity, because we're not connected. Because we're just not connected to the universal forces that, and he didn't say this, but I threw it in, we're just not connected to the universal forces that beat our heart, breathe us, blink our eyes, bloom a rose, bake a baby and rise the sun. We're just not connected to that. In fact, we're more distracted from that.
Don't you find that interesting? That I read about it in Newton Messages, and there he's saying it to you. So we've got
and my
this-
little thing was, just so we're on the plant thing, here I was in Fiji and thought, I didn't ask anyone to water my beautiful veggie garden while I'm away. So I did a little meditation while we were in Fiji. You know, the day we were doing the meditation?
Yeah.
I lay there and thought of my veggie garden and went, God, please rain. Please give my plants whatever they need. Now, it didn't rain, but I got a message on my Facebook page that afternoon from my neighbour who said, I had a funny thought to go and water your garden.
Oh my gosh,
Oh, how
Kim.
beautiful.
Is that amazing? And she went over and watered my beautiful garden for me.
Oh, how beautiful.
So yeah, I talked to my plants from Fiji, just saying.
Well, do you know, I mean, we can't, I know that's, to some people listening that might sound wacky, but we can't write that off, because even in E squared, there's an exercise in E squared, and I'm not going to give it away.
Yes, yeah, that's an amazing exercise.
should I talk about it?
Yeah, talk about it, because
Okay.
I just think I think people should try it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. 'Cause I don't want to give away the punchline of the book, but okay, cool. Okay, cool.
We'll just do the whole book.
Yeah, right, sure. Good, let's go.
She's going to rewrite it. She's got a new one coming out called E-thirded.
Are you quadded?
E-thirded because it's a third dimension to look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so funny. I'm just trying to think, what's the fourth dimension? Well, so what you do is you get your coat hangers and you untwist your coat hangers so that they form a perfect L shape. And it's got to be a metal coat hanger. And so you hold about 5 inches of the coat hanger in one hand, and then there's about 12 inches of the coat hanger, pointing outwards away from you. And this actually shows that the mind, well, actually, what science is, what we know is that there's an electromagnetic field that pervades the body, that goes outside of the body, and it's actually the source of that electromagnetic field is actually the heart. So that we know. And that electromagnetic field, when we're out and about, your electromagnetic field is bouncing off my electromagnetic field, and that's why I feel you. And what E squared talks about, and these coat hangers actually prove, is that our thoughts impact that field. So you cut your coat hangers and you hold one in each hand. And if you look straight ahead, but then you focus your thoughts. So I had Matt stand to my far right. So I looked straight ahead, but I focused my thoughts intensely on Matt. And I focused on Matt, focused on Matt, focused on Matt, and I got all this loving feeling towards Matt. These coat hangers flipped from being straight ahead to shring straight across to Matt so quickly and so poignantly. I was floored. And then if you have a sad thought, it shows that the energy contracts. And then if you have a positive short thought, it shows that the energy expands around the body. So I thought, okay, I'll give this a whirl. So I thought about my dog, Dolly, who passed away about 5 years ago. And, of course, that just always tears me into millions of pieces.
Page 142 of your book, we always miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't read that.
Don't read that page.
That's when Dolly dies in Soul Survivor.
When Dolly dies,
No,
okay.
I don't want to read it.
Yeah, devastating.
Oh, that's when everybody loses it because that's the final straw.
It's like, how could that happen?
How could that happen? How could Dolly die? Yeah.
So I thought about when Dolly died, and these coat hangers, I'm not joking, they were straight ahead initially, and I was just looking straight ahead thinking about Dolly, and these coat hangers crossed over, and they didn't only cross over, they kept going until they touched either side of my neck. They kept on going. And then when I put them back to the front again, okay, I thought now I'm going to think of a really amazing thought, and I thought about my TV show, I thought about the things that I want to create next year.
She thought about us.
And taking us to the raw food class, and bang!
Yep.
There they go. Went nuts. And they did. They expanded. So instead of them crossing over in front of me, they actually spread out. And then they spread out so far that, again, they touched me on either side of the neck.
Oh, wow.
So it just kept and that actually was evidence to me that the energy field is obviously not just in front of us, and that would make sense, but the energy field is all around.
Yes.
It's amazeballs. Amazeballs.
And we're always affecting that energy field with our thoughts, with other people's thoughts. It's always being affected.
Well, do you want to know what else I did?
Yes.
This is a little woohoo. Are you ready? I actually decided to see if I could try, and Nat, who runs our events for us, she suggested that I do this. I decided I would see if I could affect Matt's thoughts. So I got Matt to hold the tuning forks, or the coat hangers.
Yeah.
I got him to hold them. And this is very woohoo, but it worked. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you. What I did was I got Matt to hold the tuning forks. I got him to look straight ahead. And I said to him, just don't think of anything really. Just try and keep yourself as blank as you possibly can.
Not hard for men.
Not hard for men. Really simple. Probably would have been a little challenging if I'd given it to one of you girls.
Because as soon as you said that, don't think about anything, I'm like going, don't think about anything.
Oh my God, I'm thinking of everything.
I'm thinking of everything.
Now,
What is she looking at me? Is she looking at me? What do I say? What do I do? I pretend to do this?
Is that going to move or is it not going to move?
Yeah, I don't know if I can do this.
and
That's
Matt
what
just
I'll
went blank.
do. Men are so good at that.
It's that selective blank. So I said, because Nat sort of gave me a bit of coaching on what to say, because she does this other amazing kind of counselling technique, and she said to me, ask Matt's body if you can influence his field. So I did. So I said, in my head I went, right, can I influence your field? Can I influence your thoughts? Will you let me in there? I didn't actually hear an answer. She said that I would, but I didn't. I didn't hear an answer. And I thought, okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. So,
Of course.
and then I started to think about Matt. Matt's just bought a muscle car. He's just bought a 19...
He bought his muscle car.
Yeah, you want to see it? It's in the driveway.
Oh my gosh.
I actually asked him if I could drive it over. He said no.
No.
But he's bought this 1967 Camaro. It's just been imported from the United States, and it's just this, it's quite hot. So anyway, and he didn't have it then. And I felt like I was associating into him. I was trying to really associate into him. And I suppose you could really only do this with people that you know. I don't know. And I was really trying to feel how excited he was about getting the car, and really, feeling, and the tuning forks split and spread wide open, and came around and touched him on the shoulders.
What did he say?
He just said, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? What are you doing here? What's going on? I'm not thinking about anything. What are you doing? And I said, I'm thinking about you getting so excited about the car and directing the tuning forks even though they're in your hands.
Oh, that is woohooey, isn't it?
Isn't it woohoo?
It's amazing.
Isn't it woohoo? So when he put the forks out, I was noodle baked for a while. I thought that that just goes to show that we are unbelievably connected to each other. Incredibly connected to each other. And from a scientific perspective, I don't know if we've even spoken about this, but when you share bodily fluids with another human being, and yes, Kim, I know, I've said it again. I know. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I don't know. But when you have a partner, there's a DNA exchange. So if I touch you now, and I'm just wiping my hands on Kim.
She's just wiped the sweat off her brow.
I did. Now, I've just put all my DNA on you, and for as long as DNA stays alive...
Oh, thanks.
Everybody's touching Kimmy.
Everyone's giving her DNA.
But there's an experiment that was conducted that while ever that DNA...
Yes. God, tell us.
Shut the
front door. This is a good one. Yeah.
Well, okay, so
told me.
to the experiment, this guy, and they got some army guys to do it, not that makes any difference, but what they did was they scraped the inside of this one particular army guy's mouth out to get the DNA, like you did a swab of the inside of his mouth. They put some monitors on him, then they took this swab and took it 300 kilometres away, and they put the same monitors on the swab. They showed the army guy an emotional film. The instant that he became emotional, his DNA became emotional. They measured the same responses occurred even though his DNA was 300 kilometres away. So while ever the DNA is still alive, you will feel... so if I touch you, you will feel what I'm feeling, even if you're 3.5 kilometres away or 300 kilometres away, you will still feel what I'm feeling. Because when I get the feeling, my DNA naturally gets the feeling. So when we exchange, when we're in relationship with people and children again, because obviously they're part of you, that's why parents can feel their children. And when something impacts one member of the family, the rest of the family feels it. So when we think about that from a scientific perspective, the evidence is there. The evidence is absolutely there. There's a DNA exchange that takes place that means I can feel Matt can feel me, you can feel me now, Kimmy. Sorry, sweet, but that wasn't in the brochure, but now it's there.
It's quite nice, I must say.
It's nice,
quite
different. It's nice, unusual. Feeling quite good, yes. How about you?
Feeling a bit washed out now, thanks. She had a big weekend.
Had a monstrous weekend.
You've just reminded me of something that happened while we were in Fiji. You left, Karen, and Kim and I stayed on another couple of days, and we went away from our hotel for the day, and we were coming back, and I got in the car and I had this rush of anxiety hit me. Had a real rush of anxiety, so I'm going through my kids going, I hope you're all right. Who is it? Is it Brogan, Casey, Tanya, Fran? So I'm going through the kids, and then all of a sudden I go, it's not me. This is not about me. And I thought it's Kim, but I didn't want to say anything to Kim because Kim's daughter was catching a train that day.
By herself for
the very first time.
Down to Brisbane.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And it was on my mind all day. But I didn't get panicky.
Until you got in the car?
Well, I wondered. I wasn't panicking, but I got in the car.
You didn't need to because Cindy did it for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it was weird because I didn't know where it was coming from. So I went through my kids and I'm thinking, no, it's not that. But I didn't want to say anything to Kim because I didn't want her to think about it. If she was anxious about it. It was just one of those things that I didn't want to remind her that her daughter was on a train by herself at the age of 15 going down to Brisbane. I just thought I'll talk about it when I know she's near her phone.
Yeah.
And so I asked her at the end of it, I said, are you worried about, Taylor?
Can I just ask you, how did you even know to say, is it me, is it my kids, is it this one, is it that one, is it Kim? How did you even know to ask the question, is it me or someone else?
Because
you had that feeling.
It was a really anxious feeling, but I'm like going, no, it's not. I don't know why I asked. I had no idea, but I wanted to check in with each of the kids.
How did you know to do that?
I don't know. You do it as a mother. You're always checking in.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you're always checking in with.
And the one thing I do,
Is it?
The one thing I do when I get those feelings, because of this whole thing of what you emit or what you think happens. The minute I get a thought like that, I now don't try and discount that thought because I think the more I then go, oh no, don't think that.
Oh, then
I'm
you
now
think
fighting
about it. Yeah.
So now, whenever I get a feeling or a thought like that, the first thing I do is go, oh, Thank you, universe, for the reminder to send love, for the reminder to send protection, for the reminder that she's okay, for the reminder that, because what's the point of me now going into panic mode or freaking out when I don't know? So the outcome has got probably a 99% chance that she's okay, when there's a little slight chance it might not be, but why go there when I don't know?
Yes.
And this is where I always ask people, now here's the accent again, are you a warrior or are you a warrior?
That would be a WARRIOR or a WORRIER.
Thank you.
You got that?
Thanks. Did you all get that? Stop looking at me like that.
Are you a warrior or a warrior?
A warrior
Or a warrior?
warrior.
Yeah.
Either one. The warrior, the one that worries about everything and is always anxious and that feeling, I always think, why put your attention into that?
Exactly.
When you could actually be a warrior of positive thoughts and convert it. So an example I had, a lady said to me in a workshop one day, my husband has to drive, how many Ks is it from here to Gympie every day? Is it 80 Ks, 90 Ks,
yeah,
something
60.
like that?
I don't think it's
60.
It's about an hour and a half's drive.
Is it?
I
don't
don't
know,
slow.
yeah.
Let's say it's an hour's drive.
Okay, let's do that.
And
100k.
her husband has to travel
80K,
this road.
70K.
And the Gympie Road apparently is always known as a treacherous
Yes,
road,
it
and it's
is.
quite horrible. So she's sitting there and she goes, oh no, I'm a warrior. I worry all the time, and I feel sick every morning. He kisses me goodbye. He goes in the car.
For
he gets to work,
goodness
and
sake,
if he does
no.
not text me, or I start panicking even more, and I just get into such. And I go, you do this every day? And she goes, yeah. And then when he texts me on the way home, I'm worried about it. And I went,
Oh, no.
how long has he been doing this? And she said 18 months.
You need to slap her.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I spritzed her with the de-stress and revive.
Well, her eyes were open.
Yeah, and I said, did you feel that? But I said to her, sweetheart, you actually have to turn this around and to be a warrior of love and protection, not a warrior of anxiety and worrying about what's going to happen. I said, the terrible thing about it may happen. I said, okay, it may happen. There could be an accident.
But she's living like it's happened already.
But that's the thing. I said to her,
Yeah,
you're
she's
actually
living
acting
like it's
out the
already happened.
emotions
Yeah.
as if it's happened. Why go there until you know for sure it has or it hasn't?
Yeah.
So my point on that was, when we're thinking like that, this is what this book did up. When you did that in the car that day, well, of course, I got the text. She was fine, but you know what you picked up on?
Yeah.
She was on the train and she sent me a text saying, Mum, there was this really creepy guy on the
Oh,
train
you don't want
that
that.
asked me for money. And I saw another lady there who was going to my dance audition with her daughter, and I asked if I could sit with her, and she said, I was about to ask you to come and sit with me. So she was protected. So the love and protection, maybe the worry we had was accountable, but the love and projection we put out then allowed that woman to be there to protect her and hold her, or just have her close, you know. Which I'm not sitting here feeling sick about it. I'm like, thank you, universe, you know, like I really am grateful for that unbelievable connection we have. So my thing is, let's put out there the perception of protection and love and the greater good, which is what E squared is about. It's about the greater good.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing, you know, about life is that it you know, I won't say it's a beautiful thing. It's probably the most challenging part of the way that we think, in that we can we can have a fear about something, and we can have a belief about something or a concern about something, but the mind and the brain, well, the brain, sorry, not the mind, but the brain doesn't actually know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. It doesn't know. So if we have an imagined worry, or if we're imagining this guy, you know, this man's going to have an accident on his way to Gympie, if we're imagining that, what the signals and the cascade of messages that's been sent through the body is that it's happened. That it has actually happened. Because the brain doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. So we are living as if it's happened. But we don't just live as if it's happened once. Like if an accident happens, it just happens once in the moment that it happens. We live like it happens twice a day for that lady. Her husband's in an accident twice a day. And the cascade of messages going through that body is rendering her absolutely powerless. And that is actually the power of the brain. It's that powerful, because what if we were to imagine amazing things? Like E squared is all about training the brain. It's one thing I'm loving. I'm reading another book at the moment by Deepak Chopra called The Super Brain. Oh my goodness, shut the front door. Such a fabulous book. The man's a genius. But there's a real contrast between whether the brain thinks us or whether we think the brain. And for the most part, we don't think the brain. We don't use the brain as a tool. Like, I use my hand to pick up a glass. I use my hand and my arm as a tool. And I use my legs as a tool to move me forward. I use my mouth as a tool to speak. And I use my body as a tool to get me to where I want to be. But our brain, we don't use it the same way. We don't drive the brain drives us, because thoughts just arrive randomly, worries just arrive randomly, and then we analyse them and say, yes, I should be terrified of that because that could happen in the future. And therein begins the beginning of anxiety, because we just keep repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. It's a whole other podcast. I know. I know.
Just to finish up, that the field of, she calls it the field of potentiality, doesn't she?
Field of pure potentiality, correct.
So you're talking about operating out of that in the purity of it, as in the positiveness of it, as in the amazing things that can happen, isn't it?
Oh, there's another book that's called The Field by Lynn McTaggart.
Yeah. Do you know what I
That's
think
really
we
awesome
might
too.
do? Is that on our Facebook and on the Wellness Couch, which she'll talk about, Karen, in a little bit, I think what we'll do is we will put links to these books, and I'll let the listeners know that we will become affiliates for Amazon and Kindle, because we would love to see how many people actually are interested in this, and this will show us a way of how you're interested. So we'll put the field in there, E squared. And do you want to put Super Brain on there as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll give you those three.
And what about the Course in Miracles?
And mutant messages down in under. We'll do mutant messages. So we'll put those links. So please go to our Facebook page and go on the link where this is, and it'll probably be on the Wellness Couch as well, the links. Yeah. But go on there, and if you decide to buy it, so we can see, you know, how many people were interested in this podcast, and if you want us to do more books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's
and
fabulous.
one other little thing that we should just finish on.
Oh, look at you. You just look so naughty.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
Oh my gosh, just before you sign off, I want to say thank you. Thank you to our beautiful listeners.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Shut the front door.
How beautiful are you, listeners? We don't even think that you're listening. We just think it's us three having a chat, because this is actually how we talk when we're not recording. But it's thanks to you guys downloading us that we went number 3 this week in Australia and number 24 in America. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being in our field of potentiality and being such a beautiful part of our network. It really floats our boat to
And
people out there.
there's something incredibly powerful about collective consciousness. So when we're all surfing the same wave collectively, like, imagine the transformation that's taking place from a humanitarian perspective across the board with our food and responsibility. Just amazeballs. We think you're amazeballs. Amazeballs.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of our podcast. It feels like it's just gone so quick. I feel like we just started it.
I know.
So join us here next week on Up for a Chat. We also really want you guys to go to our Facebook page. So I'm going to give you the link. And it's all the W's, facebook.com/Up for a Chat. And Cindy's just writing down the list of books that we're going to put on that link there for you guys to access. And you can also go to the Wellness Couch, which is all the W's, .thewellnesscouch/Up for a Chat, and where you can post your responses to this podcast as well. We love hearing from you. We read your responses all the time. So join us on Up for a Chat next week and be part of the ripple effect that's changing the world, and we will see you on the ride.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.